Education is the biggest motivator for action and inaction. I think whenever we look at education, when we look at things we know, and we consider the things we don't know, that we have much more faith and confidence in the things that we do know. And the things we don't know, we tend to be a little standoffish, especially if you're not motivated by the acquisition of knowledge. I think I look at my choices. I look at how my health and my relationship with, I guess, myself overall has been widely influenced by the things that I know. I've used Kratom for probably about 8 years now, and I credit the discovery of Kratom and my education that's been inspired through it as the thing that saved my life. I used to be on opiates. Any opiate that I could get my hands on was exactly what I wanted. And it kind of sucks years later, because I still, every day, have that same feeling. It never goes away. There's a few drugs that I don't know how they feel, and I'm thankful for that. That because I don't know how they feel, I don't miss them. I don't miss the feelings that they gave me. But I do miss opiates, and that sucks. There's I was talking with someone the other day about how my relationship with drugs, it's like a hopeless romantic, that we'll just use opiates overall. It's kind of like fantasizing about the toxic ex, where I know that entertaining the relationship with the toxic ex isn't going to get me anywhere. It's not going to add to the quality of my life. It's not going to make me feel better. It'll make me feel better for a little while, but I'm still going to get woke up at 3 a.m. with her beating my ass and having to figure out, what the hell do I need to do? How do I get this bitch out of here? And that's not okay. No matter what, she's going to bust out my windows. She's going to slash my tires. She's going to tell everybody we know all of the good and the bad thing. Actually, she won't say anything good. But she'll say all of the bad things about me that she can muster. And I'll come out of that relationship worse off than I was before. And that, in the same way, my relationship with opiates is very similar. That I was in love with it, but nothing good came from it. And the only thing that I have left at the end of it is missing opiates, missing the way that they made me feel, in the same way that you would miss a toxic ex. It's very romantic, because in the moment, you consider how great it would be to have that back. But then, a kind of like post-nut clarity, you realize this was not a good decision. And I think I only know that through the education that I've received with that relationship. And I said I credit Kratom and the education that I've gained through using Kratom as saving my life. Kratom it helped create a sense of stability in my life. It scratched the itch for opiates. And that stability inspired a lot of the things that I'm involved in today. Now, without that stability, I wouldn't be where I am. And I'm very thankful that I had gotten off of opiates at the time that I did. It was a little, just as fentanyl was hitting the streets, and it was just before, like, fake pills became the norm. But I tend to go with the number 3 and number 4. If you know what that is, you know what it is. And those were really the ones for me. And that stuff, it doesn't exist anymore. Well, it does exist, but you have to go through certain channels to get it. It's very hard. That's not what this is about. By picking up the Kratom and trying, I had to actually try to create a sense of stability, but I wanted it because there was a life that I envisioned at the time that I wasn't willing to give up on. And there were certain factors that inspired that vision, and I still have that same vision today. Life is a lot better without the opiates. It's a lot better without the day in and day out. Well, I can say that actually because I use Kratom daily. But it is a net positive to my life. A lot of people demonize Kratom, and I understand why. But I think a lot of those people can't really handle themselves to begin with. The people that see the bad sides of it. The people that can't handle themselves in moderation. That can't create structure. And that's not to be insulting. It just makes people look bad. Kind of like how the potheads make cannabis look bad. How the alcoholics make alcohol look bad. And, you know, those things are bad in their own right. But if used properly, they can be an accessory to our life. Because if I was to call them a tool, no, I mean they would be used in such a way that it's almost required. Just like you technically can hammer a nail without a hammer, but you're going to get the best results with the hammer. And as humans, we tend to go for optimization. What's going to give us the best efficiency? And if we look at like alcohol and cannabis as a tool, then it tends to be required for certain things. And I don't like that. But I use Kratom as a tool. But I don't like to think, and we lie to ourselves, but I don't like to think that I absolutely need it. I did quit Kratom for about, I want to say it was about 7 months back in 2023. If you're watching this video in the future, it is April 14th, 2026. And I didn't, at the time whenever I quit Kratom, I didn't actually change my lifestyle. I continued doing the same things I was doing because it was working. I was building wealth. I was happy, relatively. I was surrounded by people that I enjoyed being around. And I felt like I was making real progress. And I did start doing new things that have carried on today. But I didn't look at myself in recovery because I didn't see that there was a problem wrong with me. I just wanted to quit. There wasn't any part of my life that was, my life wasn't going for the worst because of my relationship with Kratom. And I began to miss it in the same way that I miss opiates. And so I started using it again. And I still use it in the same ways that I was using it to begin with. But like I said, it creates a sense of stability for me. Now, a lot of people will call this cope. But I have a very rigid and militant-like structure for my relationship with food and fuel. And the point of the education in the beginning was that Kratom inspired. I've always been the same body type where I've not been able to hold weight, and I've never really been large in any sense of the word. But before using Kratom actually, I used to, because of the different drugs that I was using, there would be some days that I would throw up upward of 5, 6, 8 times in a day. And that was normal. And that's not normal. And I started to learn before quitting those substances that I had to create another level of structure in my relationship with food and viewing it as fuel to not throw up. When I transitioned over to Kratom, and I started learning about the ways it affected me, the things it did to the body, and so on. And it inspired a health kick that is just who I am now. That I have a relationship with food where I view it as fuel and it solves a problem. Now my relationship with food is fuel and also to build mass and to make sure that I can continue putting on muscle, and that I can maintain a weight, and that I have good energy levels. Before then, I didn't pay attention to energy levels. I didn't pay attention to the reason why I was needing energy drinks, the reasons why I needed to eat then and now and eat whenever I wanted to. I just ate whenever I wanted to, but I've always had that luxury through my body type. I've just been blessed with genetics. Now, because I just ate whenever I wanted to, I didn't really have to pay attention. I would just eat as I was hungry. But now I do intermittent fasting. I usually have about a 10-hour feeding window every day. Get my 150 grams of protein, 50 to 70 grams of fat. I use carbs before activities, and I try to stay high protein, low carb, and medium fat. That way my body's getting the things that it needs to be able to operate at a high level. But that relationship with food and the education I gained through researching the body, health benefits, and so on, that came from drugs, essentially. You learn about different supplements, because really I started learning much more than just food intake, like carbs, protein, fats. And I started learning about herbs and supplements and the different things that I could use to essentially biohack my body. Now, I started using, mullein to help with my lungs, beetroot to help with circulation, omega-3s, creatine for the brain, for the omega-3s and other fats for my joints, like my limbs, zinc for testosterone, magnesium for sleep, and I believe magnesium for nerves as well, lion's mane for mental clarity and to help clear away the myelin plaque that is built up on whatever it is that's built up on. I can't remember at the moment, but I should know. I'm growing lion's mane currently. Kombucha. Kombucha is a big one for me. I love kombucha. Helps with my gut. Fixing my gut health. See, that's why I needed the energy drinks all the time, because my gut health wasn't good. I wasn't paying attention. At the time, I was working at a place where we had good food, and it met my energy level needs. That way I could get through the day. But I was always using nicotine, caffeine, and the things that are in those drinks in supplement form to achieve the same results without taking in all the sucralose, because I knew the sucralose is fucking up my stomach. And when you got a fucked up stomach, you don't feel real well. So the drugs, and I'll say also conspiracy inspired me to become more healthy. And at the time I wasn't working out, and now this is week 18 of lifting and training. Like I said, I'm training MMA with one of my brothers, and weightlifting, I'm trying to build my body to be capable. And all of that was inspired by trying to feel the best that I possibly could. So I started educating myself. And at a point, it was what you would call vitamania. I was just fucking buying vitamins and just figuring out stacks, looking at biohacking forums, learning as much as I could to try to achieve the same result of feeling well, just like drugs would make me feel. Because I couldn't use the black market stuff anymore. Also, around that time, the pill mills got shut down too, so consistent supplies of good stuff just went away. And I've never enjoyed being a part of the black market because I understand what it fuels, which is also part of the education part. Because I know the black market is fueling so much more evil, and it's to no offense of anyone that, get it how they live. But I understand that it's helping people not achieve their potential. Now, that's neither here nor there, but I knew what I was contributing to, and that didn't really sit well with me. It still doesn't sit well with me. I'm not necessarily opposed to other people participating in it, but I don't like to. And I think that comes from the education, that I know what I'm doing. Just like with alcohol, you know that it's shrinking your brain, it's fucking up your liver. Just like with smoking, that you're tarring up your lungs. You're not going to be able to breathe well. I'm actually asthmatic. And there's been 2 times in my life where I had almost passed away from it. Now, once was before memories were forming, that I couldn't remember almost dying. There's one flash of an image in my brain. Just like if I say church, there's a flash of a church in your brain whenever I say that. That church is different for you as it is for me, based off your experience. There's a flash of an image of a hospital at a time whenever I was younger, but I don't remember it. But I do remember the time back in 2015 where I had almost passed away. That I was using so much energy. My oxygen levels were so low that gasping for breath was using more energy than the breath was bringing in. Until you feel that feeling, you don't truly appreciate the luxury that it is to breathe normally. Until you feel like you are on death's doorstep and that it all could be over, and it's by your own fault. Until you feel that, it doesn't really make sense to you. That's just the luxury of having a healthy body. But that experience educated me. It helped me understand how important it is to actually take care of myself. That was about 2 or 3 years before I had fully quit opiates. And I guess you could say that I haven't fully quit opiates, because every day I'm still hitting the mu opioid receptors. I'm still antagonizing those. But I'm okay with that, because I know what I'm doing, and I understand the level of impact that it's had on my life. What I'm not okay with is being dishonest about it. And I know what I'm doing. I'm aware of it. And I can handle myself. I think a man's health is a reflection of his ability to handle himself. I think I'd mentioned this in a past video. Whenever you look at people, it's like a resume. You can see their discipline. You can see how serious they take themselves. You can see a lot about someone just based off their appearance. And so I had to make those changes because I couldn't deny it anymore. I know. And if I know something to be true, then I have to adapt and adjust and make those changes. If not, then I will suffer the consequences. But being equipped with the education to make those changes is the difference. It doesn't matter how much I tell you across these videos. Until you actually experience it, until you know it to be true for you, that it's kind of like just hyping yourself up. Some people, their whole personality becomes like a weird amalgamation of self-help. That's like their thing. And I don't think I'm like that. I think I put into action the things that I talk about. But if I wasn't putting those things in action, and I was sitting here talking about them, then there wouldn't be any authenticity. You wouldn't be able to trust me. You wouldn't be able to trust the things that I talk about. I think I talked about what I want to talk about tonight. But the more you know, the better you can do. And whenever you look yourself in the face and ask yourself, are you doing what's right for yourself? If you can't answer that question honestly, then that's where you need to start. Start there. You know what you need to do. I know what I need to do. But first we have to be honest with ourselves. And if we don't know things, then we need to go and learn them. If you're curious about how you could do better, how things are affecting your life, look it up. The information's there. Might as well. Why not? It'll be good for you. It'll be cool. But I guess that's all for today. I'll talk more about my relationship with Kratom and my health journey, or whatever the fuck you'd call it. I'll talk about it more in later videos. I just think I wanted to hit on today that education is the biggest motivator for action and inaction. Only when you know something to be true can you actually adapt, adjust, and change your circumstances. I hope y'all enjoyed the talk tonight. If you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to expand on some of the ideas and things that I talked about. But I wish you all well. And remember, no excuses, only results. Y'all take care, alright? Oi, laddie. What's going on, guys? I think today we're going to talk about ADHD and Adderall and my brain trying to convince me to go to the doctor. I don't really think about this much anymore. I just gave up on it. I never went to the doctor to try to get ADHD medicine, but actually, let me turn off this air conditioner real quick. We're back. The air conditioner is off. You should be able to hear me a little bit better. So we added a plant. We went and bought some plants today. The plants are good. We got a few of them. I think I like them. I don't really know what to do with them. Well, I do know what to do with them. They have a purpose. But as far as where to put them, I'm not sure it really matters. But I used to consider going to the doctor to get ADHD medicine. And I don't think about that anymore. I'm not really interested in it. I love, like we talked about yesterday, we have experience with some drugs. And the best of the best is, or the cleanest, is like Adderall and Vyvanse. But whenever you add that with opiates, it's like speedballing. I'm not glorifying or romanticizing it. It sounds like I am. I really am trying not to. It's not good for you. It's not good for me. It's not good for anybody. But the reason I want to talk about Adderall and ADHD is, for the longest time, I'd used opiates and stimulants like Adderall and and Vyvanse together. And then for a very long period of time, I would just use Adderall and Vyvanse. And they make you feel like a god. You had all of this power. And I began to confuse myself because that medication is prescribed so frequently to so many people. I was curious as, do I feel good because the stimulant makes me feel normal? Do those drugs make me feel like people normally feel? And the way I interpreted that from my brain was, or from myself, the way I settled with that thought was that my brain was trying to convince me to go to the doctor. That way I could continue getting high. Whether or not I truly need those medications, I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't think I do. But I do think that I don't think I have ADHD, but maybe I do. But I'm not sure that it needs to be medicated. That just because I may have symptoms of I don't know if you would call it a disability, a sickness, a mental condition. Just because I have those symptoms doesn't mean I need to go to the doctor. That I can solve the same problem that those medications would solve with structure. With it's like and I'm sure you'll hear it in some of my talks where from time to time it'll be hard for me to stay on task, I guess you could say. But I always kind of struggle with that. That whenever I was using, we'll call it stimulants, Adderall and Vyvanse, whenever I was using stimulants, I felt normal. I felt like I had a complete control over my life, over my focus, over the decisions I was making. I've always felt like I had a complete control, but I never felt in tune. And the drugs made me feel in tune with myself and the world around me. There was like connections being made in my brain that pushed me beyond the point that I normally was at. It was like my efficiency as a person was increased so high that I genuinely question, do I need to be medicated? And that brings about the question, the difference between drugs and medicine. And I think it ends up being dosage, right? Where if as we talked about in the Kratom video, that if I'm abusing a substance to the point of getting high and not solving a problem, then it becomes a drug. But if I'm using it with an intention to solve a problem because there is an underlying condition. Now, I'm not a doctor. I'm very aware of myself now and the way that I feel. I can feel the different changes in my body. I can feel the different, if I'm a little off each day. And I don't know if people normally can tell those things. I pay a lot of attention to that, but I like to feel good, and I like to, in a way, force those feelings. But like I was talking about in the Kratom video, I would use vitamins, supplements. Now I use like working out, and I'm also using this journey on YouTube as a way to force a feeling, and it makes me feel good. So with the stimulants, you could end up forcing a level of focus. Like I said, it made me feel like a god. I felt like I had all control. And I don't think that's good, to feel like a god, Like, I don't think that's necessarily a good thing, because it is very addicting. Very addicting. It makes you feel like you're on another level that hadn't been reached before. when you get used to that, normal life is kind of a little bit weird. But then you have to bring your baseline back down, right? It's kind of like going through withdrawal, that you go from being, okay, so you go from being not using substances to then using substances, and your baseline changes, right? So now you need those substances to feel normal. You used to feel normal down here, but now down here, you don't feel normal. So you need the substance to feel normal. And then whenever you go through withdrawal, like if you stop using the substance, then your baseline lowers, or sorry, your baseline's still up here, but the way you feel is way down here. So you don't feel normal again. But then as you go through the withdrawal and your body reacclimates to not using the substance, your baseline lowers and you get back to feeling normal. But you have to like re-understand what feeling normal is like again. It's a very, very odd thing to go through. And I think many humans go through that. I think a lot of times, especially if you're not really aware of your body and the way that you feel, that you will go through that feeling and you just be like, oh, I feel bad today, or I'm kind of sick, oh, I feel off. Or like the hangover. The hangover is withdrawal. That's literally withdrawal. Now, you don't have to be addicted to alcohol to go through that withdrawal. That's like, but that's what's happening. Your body is going through withdrawal, right? I think, and this right now, this gives me an idea. I think we might do some episodes where I'm actually on my computer and I have the face cam pulled up and we'll be browsing the internet together, right? Where I'm going through, I'm pulling up different articles, pulling up PubMed stuff, looking at different studies and so on, and discussing those things. I think that would be really cool. That gave me an idea. I like that. This is what I'm talking about with the ADHD thing. But I'm also, and I feel like maybe it's kind of a superpower too, because I'm processing, because naturally, organically, my brain is processing so much information. My brain is always on. It's like it's zooming all the time. And that's where the God feeling came from, right? Because the stimulants would take this baseline of like zoom, 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 and it would bring it in and focus it. And I could channel that. And I think that I can channel that organically without using substances. That if I create the right system feedbacks in my life, that I am then channeling that focus, right? I just don't feel high while doing it. I don't feel, well, I do feel, I feel good. You know, I feel good normally. But I don't feel like I feel fucking great. But I do. And I'm sorry, I am romanticizing a little bit. The way I said that was like I said, the fucking toxic ex, because I know I'm not going to come out of it any better than I was before. I know I'm going to come out of it on the bottom, but I don't like that. I'm going to leave it in there. It's not good, because that I will never not be able to feel that. I will never not be able to feel those feelings that I'm describing. I'm very glad that I had never done. Now, Adderall and Vyvanse are essentially like better and pure methamphetamines. They're amphetamines, and there's something about them. This is what I'm talking about, using the computer. We could pull it up. I think it's some carbon chain that's not there, or some shit like that. I really don't know. But there's something about it that's slightly different. And it's so much more clean. It's so much more dialed in. And it's weird, man. What was I saying? So I've never used methamphetamine. I'm very thankful for having never used that. I've never used crack. I've never used like PCP, shit like that. But I have used like MDMA, mushrooms like psilocybin, LSD, number 3 and number 4, and then like traditional opiates, ranging from, you know, like the weaker stuff to the really hard stuff, and cannabis, alcohol, Kratom, kava, stuff like that. Kratom and kava. Kava's a weird one, actually, because there's like a reverse tolerance to it. It's almost like your body doesn't know how to process it initially, and then the more you use it, your body learns how to process it, and then you feel it. It's very odd. Life is weird, man. There's a lot of very odd things. At least I see it that way. It's very weird. I like it, though. It's really cool being human, because we get to feel this range of emotions. We get to make all of these choices. They impact our life from beginning to the end. But my brain doesn't understand how those other substances feel, so I can't miss them, right? And that's what I was saying a second ago. Like, there's this weird yearning almost, but maybe it's because there's something missing inside of me that I haven't yet fulfilled that makes me yearn for those feelings, right? And that brings back the question of, do people normally feel like how I felt whenever I was using stimulants? Because they're prescribed to so many people. There's someone in my family that is prescribed these stimulants, and they seem to help them in a major way. There's someone else in my family that is also prescribed these stimulants, and they seem to take away from their quality of life. One of them, it helps them, and the other one, they're of the age to where they don't really have the autonomy. It kind of turns them into a zombie. They become a shell of themselves. And this is what I'm talking about. The one that turns into a zombie doesn't need the stimulants. They're perfect. It's not my place to say they're perfectly fine. I'm not a medical professional. I don't know what I'm talking about. But judging by my observations, that person does not need the stimulants. They don't need that, because it turns them into a shell of themselves. But because of the prescription, they follow the rules, and they use it as prescribed. And the other person is the same way. Because of the prescription, they follow the rules, and they use it as prescribed. I pop my ears a lot. I had tubes whenever I was a baby, and also from using my nose. I think it's called the eustachian tubes. They don't stay fully open or closed the way they're supposed to, so my ears pop a lot. I try not to do it very much, but it happens. It's the same reason why my nose is red. You probably notice it more now that I've said something about it. But I do the best that I can to mitigate those things. It looks natural to me, maybe not to you. I don't really care. Well, I do care because it shows like my health, and like we talked about, the body and your health is a resume for your actions and the way that you conduct yourself. But my nose and my nasal cavity, I try to stay very hydrated. That way it can stay moist. But it's from drug abuse, from years of allergies. I used to have to go and take allergy shots every single Friday. I was very afraid as a child of being the snot-nosed kid, because I was always sneezing and always had a runny nose. But it wasn't so bad to where, like, it was all the time. It was a lot. But I don't think I was a snot-nosed kid. When I think about it, I don't think I was. I'm not a snot-nosed kid now. I'm not a snot-nosed adult. My upper respiratory system is compromised through asthma and allergies. But it's just fucking life, dog. Like, what the fuck am I gonna do about it? I just gotta deal with it, man. I mean, whatever. It's just part of it. There are things that I can do to make it better. I do the best that I can. But back to what I was saying, that The stimulants and the prescription and overprescription of those stimulants and the way that I felt and the way my brain works made me question, do people normally feel like this? Because I can't feel your normal, right? Like, you may very well feel the way that I felt every day. You may feel every day the way that I felt using stimulants like Adderall and Vyvanse on a daily basis. And I may actually, I may benefit from stimulants, but I don't think I need to go down that path, because I know how I am. I know that I'm an addict. I know myself, and I believe that my brain is trying to convince me to go to the doctor and get prescriptions. Now, would they make my life better? I don't know. I'll never know. I don't think I'll ever go for those prescriptions. Would I like to? Yeah, absolutely. But I don't think I would enjoy life using those stimulants every day. And I think the stimulant is kind of like a Band-Aid, where there's like an underlying problem. And it's kind of like a Band-Aid or Flex Seal tape, where like there's a hole in the boat, just put some fucking tape on it. Now the boat floats. No more water. There's still a fucking hole in the boat, bruh. All you did was patch it. If the fucking patch gets a small hole in it or something, there's still a hole in the boat. And that's kind of the point, is that there are other avenues that I can approach to be able to take care of those problems. If there actually is a problem, there may not be a problem. There likely isn't a problem that my brain and my tendencies as a human just wants me to go and try to get prescriptions. And don't get me wrong, it would be fucking nice, but we're not doing that because we know it's not good for us. We know how we act whenever we're on those substances. We also know what we're capable of, and that capability can be channeled without prescriptions. We just got to really put our mind to it. We can. It is possible. But the allure of the easy patchwork to reach that state of mind and have that godlike feeling day to day, that's where the question arises from. Like we said, what's the difference between drugs and medication? They're all the same. The only difference is dosage. They call it prescription drugs for a reason, because it is a drug. Anything can be a drug if it's used in a certain dosage with the wrong intention. Anything can be a medicine if it's used at a certain dosage with the right intention. You can look at psilocybin or ketamine. Ketamine's something I've never experienced, but I've heard that it is very good for a lot of people, that it truly does help them. If I was to use ketamine, then I would be using it with the wrong intention, and I would not be using a pharmaceutical dosage. I would be using a drug abusing dosage. And that's the difference. And we have to be honest with ourselves about these things. And if we can approach these topics and be honest with ourselves, then I think you're going to enjoy the channel. I think you're going to go a long way. And that means that you truly want to seek truth. You don't want someone to just tell you the things that you want to hear. And you want to actually be honest with yourself about where you stand in life. And that's fucking cool. That's cool shit, man. That's fucking badass. So I think that's the end of the talk today. We'll come back around to this topic another time. I might have a special guest on sometime soon, and we'll talk about similar topics. We share some similar experiences. We have some similar views, but we also have some differing views, and I think that's going to make for a good conversation. So I hope you all stick around, hang out for the next conversations. Look at the screen real quick. I heard this the other day. I haven't said this yet. If you look at the buttons below the video, if you click the like button, it should pop up and do a little animation. If you click the subscribe button, it should pop up and also do a little animation. And share the video, man. Share the fucking video. Let's get some more people involved in the conversation. Or don't. That's all right, too. It is what it is. It doesn't matter. I appreciate everybody. We'll talk to you next time. Remember, no excuses, only results. I look forward to seeing you again. Y'all take care, all right?